Chelsea will take on Porto on Wednesday, and the honeymoon period for Thomas Tuchel is over. He lost his first game as Chelsea manager on Saturday, 5-2 against West Brom. Now, Thiago Silva was sent off, so they did play the majority of the match with 10 men. But Jimmy, where did it go so wrong for them at the weekend, and how does that affect things coming into this match?
I actually think, Poppy, that it's a good thing for them to lose ahead of this match. And I know that Chelsea fans maybe are on the fence with that statement in particular, but sometimes you need a little humility, as it were, to make sure that you get that focus that you need against an opponent in Porto, who they're the heavy favorites. Right now, William Hill has Chelsea as the third favorites to win it all. And so maybe getting slapped around. I mean, I didn't expect them to give up 5 goals to West Brom, even with 10 men. I mean, they have been so disciplined over the last 2.5 months since Tuchel has taken over. It's really surprising for them to be so loose defensively. But I think we'll see some changes. We'll see if Thiago Silva even starts. Sometimes he's a bit reckless for whatever reason. Maybe Christensen comes back in. Rudiger will definitely come back in. And I think we're going to see that 3-5-2, even though, let's be honest, it's basically like 7 guys back there in one line, making it very hard. And I just don't think Porto have enough to maybe break them down in a meaningful way in the run of play. I think we're going to see Porto score potentially on a set piece. That's where they seem to have a lot of success, especially in the Champions League. But with Chelsea in particular, I don't know which version of Timo Werner is going to show up. I feel like it's Timo Werner versus Timo Werner as to whether he can get out of his own way and find the back of the net. Be interesting to see what their lineup is as well. But yeah, I'm tipping Chelsea to do the business, especially over 2 legs.
Yeah, Jimmy, and I think they don't have enough Porto to go against this Chelsea, even though the big mistake that they had during the weekend, that can happen in every single game. And we've seen it during the years that one game, everything goes wrong, send off, and then you try to play the same way. You cannot play the same way with 10 men, and then you concede the goals. Also, West Brom, we have to say, they play well. They did a good game. And when you play against 11 men that they all have quality to play in Premier League, you know that you can concede goals. It was a big mistake from Chelsea. But against this Porto, without Sergio Oliveira, the captain, that is probably the key man for this team. It's like the soul. I know that Pepe is the soul at the back, is playing in a way that we haven't seen him probably in the last 15 years. He kind of rejuvenized Benjamin Button back then. But honestly, just Chelsea, the way, the intensity that they play on the game, the quality they go up front, I think is just fantastic. They've done it in the past 2-3 months. They kind of got that momentum for going of control, of consistency that is needed. And Tuchel, I think, is done a fantastic moment for the Chelsea. So I think they got too much for this Porto. We'll see what happens, but I see Chelsea going through to the next round.
Yeah, I think back to the draw when this draw was actually made, what Sergio Conceição was actually thinking. Was he excited or was he disappointed with this draw? And I think he would be rather excited and think, well, we have a chance here. We can really frustrate, like they did against Juventus, over 2 games. And I think that's the game plan, especially as you mentioned there, the massive disappointment of Oliveira not being there. I mean, he scored 18 goals this season. Okay, he's scoring a lot of penalty kicks, but that is a huge influence in your team. I still think they can score goals. Do they go out tactically different and try to make it a 2-legged affair rather than an all-out 90-minute explosion in the first leg? I think Conceição respects this Chelsea team enough to know that it's going to be very difficult to score goals against them, and it's going to be very difficult to stop them from scoring goals, so expect an ugly 2 games. I think Porto are very much in this tie.
Well, talking of scoring goals, it was another injury for Christian Pulisic. He came off at half-time at the weekend, Jimmy, and despite a good spell for the national team, he can't get a good run of form because of injury, and it's been such a roller coaster for him, which is frustrating not only for him, but for Chelsea as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure where to start, Poppy, with regard to Christian Pulisic. You know, I'm a big believer in the mind-body connection, and sometimes I feel like there is some stress that might be happening. Maybe you're putting some external pressure. And I speak from experience here. I remember after having my first child, I was so devoted to wanting to being a good dad that it put a lot of pressure on me to not miss games and not all that stuff. And all of a sudden, I had my first hamstring pull of all time. So that's kind of where I'm coming from, to give you guys some context. But because he has so many of these hamstring injuries, at some point, yeah, the physical, but also the mental. So I don't really know what's happening in some ways with regard to how he's being treated, obviously, by their physios and all that, but also in how he's handling himself both on and off the field. I think mental health sometimes needs to be brought into the forefront a little bit more when thinking about injuries. I don't know if you guys agree with me.
Totally, Jimmy. I think it's a fantastic point that you said. When you are stressed, when you have a lot of pressure, knowing that you are the captain or the main person for the national team is also a big pressure when you got so many young players around you and you have to be the example to all of them. You have to perform every single weekend, even though that you are at Chelsea, that you are in one of the best teams in the Premier League. You have to perform, because if you don't perform for 10 minutes, you are out, because there is another one waiting. We all know the competitiveness that they got at Chelsea up front. So I think it's a lot of pressure for a young player who, he's been there for quite a while, but is still feeling the pressure of playing in Premier League, playing in Champions League, playing local competition, and also be the main man for the national team. So big pressure. Hopefully soon he can balance a little bit and stop this kind of situation of being injured for quite a while. That is very needed.
I know you've all heard the rumour that Jimmy Conrad was the best player that US soccer has ever produced, but believe it or not, Christian Pulisic, in my opinion, is the best player that US soccer has produced. And I feel for him. Now, I have never played at Christian Pulisic's level. And one of the reasons why I've never had the opportunity to play there is because exactly what he's going through now. When I was a kid at Manchester United, I didn't get my opportunity because I tore my hamstring at 13, 14 years old. I went to the first team at my first club, Tranmere Rovers, tore my hamstring 5 or 6 times. Just couldn't get that consistency. Trying to get close to the first team, you get an injury, you're back out then. Then when I went over to Germany, I went to Hamburg. They're playing in the Champions League. I was getting closer and closer to making these big games. I'd tear a hamstring. I tore my hamstring 40 times in my career. 40 times. And I think I managed to play maybe 250 competitive games. It would have been 500, it would have been 600 had it not been for those injuries. But you mentioned a great point there, the mental health aspect, Jimmy, and I can tell you exactly what he's going through. It is so difficult because you don't know why. At one point in Germany, I had my teeth removed because we thought that was the reason why I was having hamstring injuries. Then it was sugar, all sugars. I mean, nobody knows exactly why this is happening. And I don't think it's anything to do with Christian Pulisic. I think it's just biology. I think it's just unfortunate that his body is built in a specific way. He's so quick, he's so sharp, and he's such a fabulous player that for some reason this keeps happening. And you have to try and get to the bottom of it, but to try and find the answer as to why it's happening is almost impossible to do. So I feel very, very sorry for Christian Pulisic, but let it be known that when he does find his fitness and he does perform, he plays well. We witnessed it in the international break. We witnessed it at the weekend for the first 45 minutes. Christian Pulisic is a massive player, and I hope that someday he finds the answers to his problems, because I certainly see that mentally it's dragging on him.
Well, it's been a roller coaster for him as of late, no doubt. But the good news for Chelsea, they've got Olivier Giroud, who's been a bit of a hero for them in this competition. Well, tomorrow we get underway with the Champions League quarterfinals. We'll see you back here at 1 p.m. Eastern for all of the action.